guys look so cute together. I'm coming up. I'm bringing the camera, okay?
So we've seen found footage with superheroes,
I can't hear you.
dinosaurs,
I think he likes me.
aliens,
That makes no sense. That makes no sense.
time travelers,
Give me the camera. Give me the camera. Look at yourself. Your hair.
and of course, the back-to-life crowd. But the truth is, all that exploration traces back to one movie.
What's your take on the Blair Witch at this point? Do you think she exists?
One that didn't just change the game, but delivered one of the most striking conclusions ever put on screen. But what's even scarier is that it almost didn't happen, because everything that made it great nearly got lost along the way, to the point where they even filmed 4 different takes on how the story wraps up. And this time, I want to explore what sets each version apart. But before we dive into that, let me set the stage a bit.
The ending was like, we knew it was going to be in the house, and we knew they were going to go down, but we didn't know what the cameras were going to capture. So we had a lot of different ideas, and we literally came up with that idea like a day before we shot it.
When we rounded that bend around that last leg of trees, we didn't know what we were getting into at that point.
The thing is, no one had any idea how the film would end. Not the directors, nor the actors, who handled all the filming themselves.
My direction said, when you hear a noise, when you wake up and hear a noise tonight you will follow the noise with the video camera.
And that's because the whole shoot was set up without a script, just instructions here and there.
This is experimental. I mean, we're all kind of going in this together and saying, okay, if this works, it's going to work in a big way.
And for a full week, the 3 actors were on their own in the forest, without any direct contact from the crew. Just milk crates with their daily supplies and a note with simple instructions.
You're kind of improvising.
Yes. What we would find in these milk crates was little pieces of paper.
Which of course meant directions on what to do next, where to go, and how their character was supposed to behave.
I love you, Mom.
And yeah, that too was completely improvised. Just like Mike and Heather's frantic run to the abandoned house.
Mike, where you going?
Having no idea where they were going, simply following the note that told them to chase Josh's voice.
I hear you. Josh!
So I'll walkie Ed Sanchez. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna ruin the end of the movie. What is this? Where am I going? He's like, don't worry, you'll understand once you see it.
Holy shit. It's a house.
The most authentic line I deliver in the entire film is, oh shit, it's a house.
And once he was inside, he followed the voice all the way to the basement.
Come on! I hear him downstairs!
And right as he hit the bottom step, they gave him one final note.
And he's like, you're not done, get in the corner, get in the corner, get in the corner. What? Hurry up! She's coming!
But the issue came up during the first screening, when it became clear the improvised ending didn't quite land the way they'd hoped.
So Artisan Entertainment buys the film at Sundance and says
that, hey, we need to, people don't understand the ending and this and that. And
as a result, they decided to shoot 4 alternate conclusions. Each one followed the same basic setup, but with a different reveal. Like Heather finding Mike posed like one of the Blair Witch's twig symbols, or lifted into the frame like a limp puppet, or simply frozen in place, staring into the lens. The problem was that all 3 versions felt too calculated and too effect-driven.
Look, I'm not saying for certain.
We're not camping here.
Maybe we're near the car. Maybe we're near the car.
They introduced a kind of cinematic language that didn't belong in a film whose realism had made it feel less like a traditional genre movie trying to scare you, and more like an actual found documentary.
We're doing a documentary about the Blair Witch.
And that's because found footage only works when every element feels deliberate.
Okay, I've got everything on video, man.
And that's something the directors grasp better than anyone, particularly after filming that 4th conclusion. But before we get into it, a big thank you to our sponsor, because they quite literally made this video possible, because I'd been searching everywhere for this movie, and it was nowhere to be found, until I changed my IP to New Zealand using ExpressVPN, and suddenly, Netflix had it waiting for me.
That's good, thank you.
Turns out most platforms have way bigger movie libraries than what we actually get. It's just that what you see depends on the region you're in. But with ExpressVPN, you can unlock them with a single click. It's like unlocking the multiverse edition of your usual Prime Video, Disney, Max, or Netflix, where all the good stuff is actually available. And I actually use it all the time, like when I needed to rewatch the Oldboy remake since it wasn't available anywhere else, only on Netflix Singapore. And it doesn't just unlock content. ExpressVPN also encrypts your traffic to keep your browsing, data, and personal info private, and it keeps any sketchy hackers on the same network from snooping around. And the best part is that you can try it yourself. Just tap the link below, scan the QR code, or head over to expressvpn.com/Lancelotti to claim 4 free months. Huge thanks to ExpressVPN for making this video possible. Now back to the essay, and to the last alternate ending, which is what you're watching right now. And while it's pretty similar to the ending we know, there are a few key differences. In this version, Mike is placed right in the middle of the shot and the camera slowly moves forward, like it's trying to build suspense. Plus, the wooden stick figures make the whole thing feel a bit more staged. The thing is, just like in the other versions, you can really feel the intention to create an impact here. Maybe because it's not Heather holding the camera this time, but the actual crew, which is a big shift from the original, where the shot is crooked, the camera doesn't move, and Mike is pushed off to the side of the frame. And all we see is a cryptic figure in the distance, open to different readings, because you can't tell if he's noticed something on the wall, if he's aware of what's happening, or maybe even entranced by something, although there is an answer to those questions.
Yeah, it's a story my grandmother used to tell us all. Make us go to bed early.
And then we just came up with the idea of, like, during those reshoots, we shot an additional interview in the town where
The man in the yellow hat in the street who talks about, you know, I heard the witch used to stand the kids in the corner. That wasn't in the original film.
And it's actually a clever way to stick with the original conclusion, because now Heather is realizing that both of them are reliving the same unsettling setup the witch used with those who crossed her path. So yes, they shot 4 alternate endings, only to keep the original one, but they still managed to add an extra layer of depth without betraying the film's visual language, because with movies like this, it's so easy to fall into the trap of making everything legible and visually clear. But the real creative struggle lies in finding the balance. How much believability you're willing to hold onto, versus how much you prioritize making it feel cinematic. That's because found footage works differently from conventional filmmaking.
No, you're not telling me anything I don't know.
Where traditional cinema tends to beautify reality to make it feel cinematic, found footage flips that approach.
Have you ever heard of the Blair Witch?
It takes a cinematic premise and grounds it in realism.
It actually sounds kind of familiar. My older sister went to Blair High School.
And I don't think the goal is to truly convince you that what you're watching is
I
real.
want to present this in as straightforward a way as possible, and I think the legend is unsettling enough.
The Blair Witch Project isn't a great film just because its marketing led people to believe the actors had really gone missing in the woods back in the day. It's great because even 20 years later, knowing full well it was all staged, you can still find yourself believing it, at least for the length of the film, simply because of how convincingly it's built. And that same effect can happen even in wilder, more far-fetched stories, like Cloverfield. The film doesn't try to convince you that an actual invasion happened. It knows that's not the point. Instead, it throws you into a kind of playful simulation where you get to experience a classic genre trope through the lens of an everyday camera. And it fully commits to that idea, even in moments where there's barely anything to see.
I can't see.
It's kind of freaking me out, you know?
It's almost like a game, one that invites you to take part by suspending your disbelief in a different way than you normally would. And part of making that work is crafting camera work that feels organic, even when what it's capturing is absolutely spectacular. That's because most found footage films treat the format more as a technical challenge, how to shoot an entire movie with a single diegetic camera. But the more interesting question is how that camera should behave as a character, and that's the key reason the original ending succeeds where the others fall short. Here you can clearly sense that it's Heather behind the camera, because throughout the film, it feels like an extension of her. And what's smart is that the film never abandons that internal logic just to deliver a dramatic payoff.
Turn the camera off and get us home.
No, I'm not turning the camera off. I want to mark this occasion.
It remains faithful to how the camera has operated from the very start. In this case, the camera isn't used to convey information or capture eye-catching visuals. It exists purely as an expressive tool, to the point where a simple movement can tell you exactly how Heather is feeling in that moment. Of course, this approach carries a much greater risk than what today's cinema is used to, where even nighttime scenes are rarely left in true darkness.
Are you alright?
To the point we've collectively settled into the convention that this is what darkness looks like. And for the same reason, in this era of visual overstimulation, it's almost unthinkable to have scenes where the screen goes entirely black.
We should even turn that light off, too.
Or where all you see is a shaky blur of grass while two characters argue off camera. That's why the kind of fear this film evokes feels impossible to replicate. And part of that comes from the fact that it was being operated by a Heather who had spent 7 days living with Mike and Josh. So it's easy to assume that what you're watching, though entirely wrapped in fiction, still lets a small trace of reality slip through the lens.
Nothing. I don't know why you have to have every conversation on video, man. Tape's
Because we're making a documentary.
That's why a film like this feels more relevant today, at a time when cinema plays it safe and audiences are more skeptical than ever, to the point where we no longer react like people did back in '99, walking out of the theater after this very film, wondering if what they saw was real or staged. But instead, from now on, it's likely that every video we see will leave us wondering if it was generated by AI.
I can see you.
What I mean is that we've reached a point where we've lost our innocence as viewers, and our relationship with what we watch will never be the same.
Thank God she's not in the film business, man. Can you imagine?
She thinks she is in the film business. She also says she's a ballerina.
But this film captures a very specific moment in time, right before that loss. And I think that's exactly why we should celebrate rare films like this one, because if only for a moment, they let us see the world again through the eyes of that innocence.